Well, in this video today, we are going to show you 4 different videos of tile installation. That's different kinds of tile and different kind of substrates. Whew, there's a lot to learn, so this is going to be like a crash course for how to tile your bathroom. So today we're going to talk bathroom floor tile. And it's interesting because there are a lot of different standards out there and a lot of different products as far as the substrate of your bathroom floor. And on top of that, the world is complicated with a lot of different kind of waterproofing systems and heated flooring systems and different sizes, style, different design layouts. Whew, where do you begin? You begin with understanding the basics so that you know what kind of project you want to tackle. So this floor right here, this is a plywood, and this is what we call direct bond. This tile is actually cemented right to the plywood, all right? And that's the most typical kind of installation you're gonna find out there in new home construction. The other kind that you're going to see is a direct bond on concrete. A lot of that is in basements. We're going to show you a different kind of membrane system that you can put on. It's a crack isolation membrane. So we have that in one of our videos. We have large tile, we have herringbone, we have waterproofing systems, heated floor systems. We also cover different techniques when it comes to using floor leveler. So when you're using tiles of different sizes, large and small, it eliminates the need to back butter, so you can work nice and clean and get a great result. So stay tuned, there's a lot to cover. Like I say, this is the basics. So once you understand all the basics of the different substrates and how to apply all the tile, then you can start to navigate how you want to design your room, understanding your ability and the scope that you want to get involved with. Stay tuned. Now the tile we've chosen is a 18 by 18 rectified porcelain. And what that means is that it doesn't expand and contract with temperature variations. So it allows us to have almost zero grout line. So we get to install this a lot like marble. So what we've got is 3 different colors of rectified porcelain. They're all 18 by 18s. And we've taken it over to the stone cutter here in Ottawa. And what they do is they cut down everything to dimensions, and this is going to be the pattern throughout the floor. Because we have our pattern on the floor here. It's a set pattern. There's not a whole lot to this. We simply take our pieces, and we showed you before, we had them all cut. So what we're going to do now is we're going to measure everything out. We're hoping that this part of the room here is relatively square, because this will be the one part of the room where we won't have any furniture. So we're going to determine that first. We're going to drop some chalk lines and see how we're doing. After that, we'll measure off wall to wall and see where the pattern ends. So our pattern is 22.5 inches. We're going to have a tub in front of the windows. So it would make more sense to make sure that this part of the floor had the pattern held true. So we don't have any cutoffs underneath the trim here. And that'll be a half tile, so that'll be nice. Let's see what we got going on here. Same thing. So coming from this direction over there, again, we've got toilet and vanity. So when we hit that wall, it'll be a half pattern, which will be nice. And that'll work for us. I haven't run into a house yet that has square walls, relatively speaking. And part of the challenge is because even if you make a square wall, every time you do an outside corner, the corners aren't square anymore because they add metal corners, they add drywall mud, and so there's always a swooping effect on the corners in most houses. But that only accounts for up to 1/8 to 1/4 inch. So that's why we're going to set a 1/2 inch off the wall. Our trims are 3/4, so that will take care of all those variances. Okay, heading that way. A little more. Keep going. Away from the wall. Stop. Okay. Yeah. So I'm opening up a little bit. It looks like the wall has a bow and it comes back. Exactly. So this wall's bowed. So we'll go off that one. So we'll just use up whatever cement we got here. Oh. This is where planning ahead comes in. Believe it or not, we start right here. Nice and gentle. Obviously the floor leveler is working really well. All right, so we're gonna install a 6-inch by 36-inch floor tile today. This is a porcelain tile, but it's not a rectified tile, which means that there is a bad warp in the floor. Now this stone, because it comes baked on an assembly line, it has a little bit of a curve to it, so it has restrictions as far as what the installation design can be. Generally speaking, we go with a 1/3 offset rule. So one tile will finish to here, the next one will start no more than 1/3 of the tile up. And this keeps the curve humps a little closer together, so there's not an exaggerated distance in the height of the stone once it's installed. So what we have to do is, when you're considering the layout on a floor, you have to think, when you come through the bathroom door, what's the first thing you're gonna see? And in this room, it's right here in this corner. This is gonna be sexy, beautiful shower, custom glass, and this right here is what you're gonna see. So what we wanna do is we wanna have this tile coming right off here. Okay, and coming right to the front door. We don't want to have an ugly cut, so we don't start on an outside wall. Now traditionally it's a little more difficult to start in the middle of the room, but the benefits are dramatic. We're gonna have a vanity over there, cut tiles are hidden underneath. Over on this side, it's away from the action, okay? So it doesn't really matter if we have a cut tile along the side of the wall. And if I was to measure this out, I might find that it's exactly the right size to go from wall to wall without cutting them. But at the end of the day, that might leave me with a piece of tile right here. And that's not what you want to do. So, rule number 1, the first thing you see, that's got to be sexy. Everything else just has to be cut to fit. So what we're going to do is use a chalk line, and I'll pass that to my assistant. Now, he wants to pull that out while I'm playing with my chalk, make sure it's on the string. We're going to put this chalk line right to the back corner of the shower pan, about 1/8 of an inch off, and then I'm just going to direct him this way a little bit, a little more, and stop, and snap, and that is going to be the edge of my tile. Because what we're going to do is we're going to start at the corner, and then we're going to fill this side, and then work towards the door as we fill both sides off of this line. So this is important that this never gets rubbed off or covered in cement, because this will keep everything nice and straight. So when you walk in the door, the line is straight as an arrow, right up the side of the shower, just the way you want it. One of the keys here is, when we're doing a 1/3 offset and you have a 4-foot long shower base or something else like that that's in your line of sight when you come in the room, is you want to try to set this up so that you don't have the tile finishing 1 inch shy of the shower base. That would look stupid. So what we're going to do is we're going to set this up where this tile is 1 foot off the shower. Okay, so we'll get that established. And then we cut a few tiles in advance, knowing we're going to go 1/3 offset. This one's cut at 2 feet. It will start right next to it. And then we'll do a full tile off of that. And so then this becomes our pattern, where it's perfectly laid out, 1/3 offset, and that's going to be beautiful. And now visually, I'm not concerned about what the dimensions are behind the toilet. Again, that's out of the line of sight. It's not an issue. I'll probably have a tile come down here. Yeah, this next tile will come about 3 inches from the wall. We'll cut a 3-inch piece. It's behind the toilet. No one's ever going to see it anyway. Okay, so in this environment, we're going with a very economical approach. We've saved the subfloor. It is 5/8. That's what we need. A 5/8 initial floor with 5/8 added on top, plywood. Gives us our 1.25 inch, which is what code is for putting tile down. We've added a few screws just to make sure that everything is nice and tight. And there's a little bit of residue of the last tile floor here. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna use a large format cement. It's a special product. And we're gonna put it down over top of this. And what's fun, we're gonna apply the cement in one direction on the floor. Once I get it all laid down here. Okay, so I'm gonna go in one direction on the floor. And everybody's heard of back buttering, but what we're gonna do is a little bit more extreme. We're gonna actually use the notch trowel on the tile itself, and we're gonna do a back butter. Here, that's a little noisy, isn't it? We're gonna do back butter with the grooves going the opposite direction. Now these mortar bed lines will intersect, and that'll actually sit nice and high off the floor and make it very easy for us to level this floor out. Now we're just gonna set it in gentle. Again, one of the rules of tiling is you want about 90% adhesion on the stone. When you do it this way, you're guaranteed that, even with a bit of the warp in the stone. I'm gonna just guess about 12 inches. Ooh, I was 1/8 of an inch off. Crying shame. Here we go. So you'll notice that when I put the tile down, I didn't add a lot of force. And that's because, remember we talked about the warps. There's always going to be about a 1/16 of an inch coming and going, rolling, almost like an ocean wave. So if I use too much force with the first couple of tiles, I might be pushing down the wrong side of the low part of the tile and creating an extra kick hazard. So what we're going to do is we're going to get the first few of them in, and then we're going to add some pressure once we've got the overall pattern established and we know where the high and low points are. We'll add some spacers. Generally I don't use those anymore, but for the purpose of a how-to video, I think it's good. People are disciplined to use them. Helps guarantee your lines are straight and gets you a better look overall. That's the one. All right, so in conclusion, in order to put in this long rectangular tile, you want to use the spacers, watch your pressure, make sure you get your measurements and your cuts done, take your time, use the proper amount of cement. If you don't cut any corners and you take it slow, you'll get a beautiful result. But if you try to rush through this kind of floor installation, you'll end up with a disaster on your hands and you'll be calling me to come and fix it. So for more tips and tricks on how to renovate your home, make sure you subscribe to our channel at Ottawa Design and Build here on YouTube. It's tile day. Welcome back to the basement job. We are taking a look at finishing all the flooring that's not getting laminate and it's not on a subfloor system. So because we have our subfloor system that you've probably seen previously, what we're doing here is we are recreating the same tile floor that's upstairs and we're bringing it down here so that we have a nice constant flow through the house. You see the same flooring patterns emerging over and over again. It gives you the feeling that everything was pre-thought, right? It's very intentional. We didn't just go to the store and find something and slap it in the basement. So now this becomes an extension of the upstairs. But what we do have is a different in elevation because we have subfloor and then on concrete. So what we've done is prepared this concrete in advance. We use the Eco Prime grip from MapHigh, and that's a brilliant little product. Basically what we have is raw concrete that hasn't been painted, except when they primed the basement originally, they used a spray machine, so there's spray powder everywhere. And that is going to interfere with our adhesion with our cement. So what I did is I used the Eco Prime grip, and then I've used the Protega underlayment. This is an uncoupling membrane. This is not a Dietrich product. This is red, not orange, so don't have to adjust the color on your screen. This one is what the world would call a knockoff. It hasn't been tested to the same degree for working in areas with deflection and that sort of thing. But for me, I'm comfortable saving a couple $100 using this here. It's on concrete. And when you're building on concrete, all you're really looking for is the elevation. I don't need a whole lot of performance from this product. And so I'm more than confident that it's gonna work just fine. So we prime it, we put down the underlayment. Now we're ready to tile. We did this yesterday. I don't like to tile right away because I seem to dent the cement as it's drying. So today what we have to do now is we have to measure this out. We got to map this out. You can't just start a project in the far corner and go left to right and fill it all in. You need to think ahead. Where are my grout lines going to be? What's the pattern I'm using? And where is the square versus non-square walls in the home? Remember, this is a modification to an existing space. So this used to be a wall, we removed it. This is existing from the builder. This is existing from the builder. And we just finished doing some measuring and found out they're not parallel. So it's very key now that we think about how we lay our tiles so that we don't overemphasize the fact that these are out of line. We don't want to have our tile finishing here with no grout line and then opening up to a grout line and going, wow, what a really nasty looking tile job. So keeping in mind that people are coming down the stairs, what's in their line of sight, what is the most common traffic flow, and then where do we want to have our grout lines and interrupt our grout lines, and how is it going to meet with the other flooring? All these things we got to take into consideration. So let's begin. So these are our tiles, they're 12 by 24. This is a porcelain. It's a lapado, so it's not a flat, it's not a gloss. It's kind of like semi-gloss for paint. It has a little bit of texture in it, and it's really nice for floors, especially if you're going to be going in and out to the hot tub or coming out of a shower, because it will give you a little bit of grip. It's also very easy to clean. Now, the tile floor upstairs, which is what we're going to mimic so that we have the same continuity, is an 8-inch offset pattern, but it's not a brick pattern. This one is a little bit different. So I'm just going to lay this out real quick so that we can have a look as far as what this is going to look like as a finished product. All right, this is the offset that they're doing upstairs. Okay, so here's our pattern. This is an 8-inch offset, but this isn't a brick pattern. It doesn't keep stepping down away, it comes back again. So what we end up with is 2 grout lines and then 2 grout lines with a larger space in the middle. And this can be very beneficial for us. So what we're gonna do is we're going to use our laser level that we've already established a line all the way down, and we're going to just have a quick look at what kind of offcuts we're gonna get if we start in that particular spot. So here we're fine. It'd be nice if this was not more than half a tile. Yeah, 11 and a half, 11 and a half. That's good. So because this wall is going to give me half cuts, but it's not square, I'm going to just measure from both ends, make sure that I'm starting in a place where my offcuts I can use again and I'm not throwing tile away. But I like this pattern, I like where it's going down here. I'm not going to end up with little slivers against the wall. I might end up with something over here. Yeah, I'm going to end up with about a 3-inch piece there, and that's going to be fine. But that's out of the way. Now, if I do the same thing down here, because that's on my laser line, I can find my laser line, put my tape measure down, check my 2-foot tile, see where I end up. So there, I hit the wall at 1 foot. There, I'll hit the wall at 16-inch, and that will lead me right into my bathroom. Wow. That doesn't happen very often, but I think that's gonna work. All right, so here's the secret. When you're doing a tile job, first you wanna identify where your grout lines are gonna be, what the condition at the visible edges are gonna be like, so you can adjust your main line off your laser. But secondly, you also gotta consider where you wanna finish up. So down at this end, we're finishing up on a door. It's a transition under door, so it doesn't matter the condition, it's going to the storeroom. Over here, we got an entrance to a bedroom door. It's secondary, it's out of the line of sight from the main living area. But over here is the main living area. The French door is leading into the great room. Now, we're going from one type of flooring to another, so we will have a cap transition, but we don't want to end up with a piece where we have like a 2 or 3-inch sliver there. So what we're going to do is we're going to measure off from over there, because I need to start way over here. This is a 2-day tile installation. So today I want to do all the floor, and then tomorrow I want to do the shower and the rest of the bathroom floor. But I need to have tile going into that room so I have something that I can stand on while I'm filling out the space. So my tile is really kind of odd. It's actually 11 and a half inches, including my grout line. So it's not a true 12 by 24. So I need to measure right from where I want to finish down to where I want to start. And then I can establish my line. Okay, So I come down here. There we go, there's 19 feet. I'm gonna make a mark. And I'm gonna do my math. So I have 19 feet minus ½ inch per tile, okay? So that's 19 tiles at a ½ an inch. Half of 19 is, yep, 9.5. So minus 9.5 inches. So my mark minus 9.5 inches is where my tile will end. And then I can go back 11.5. This is where my first tile is gonna go. And now I'm gonna just get my square, bring it down here off the laser line, draw my mark, and then I can start tiling. Okay, so this is not too difficult, but a little paying attention going on here. We got our square, we got our laser line, we're gonna build the entire floor, and that is actually our grout line. So every tile that we have going down here, well, every other tile is gonna touch that line. So I'm measuring off, putting my square on that line with both my fingers. Perfect. And I have the other point here with my measurement that I put down just a minute ago. And I'm gonna just draw my line with my black marker. Make sure I am good to go. There we go, and that's where I'm starting. So just a quick lesson on how to mix your cement, but first, where to buy it. I use Map By products because I go to a local wholesaler for tile and flooring products. The company name doesn't really matter at this point, but the point is this. My bag of cement. This is LFT, large format tile cement. And when I buy this bag, I believe it's like $16 or $17. If you went to the local hardware store to buy this bag, you're looking upwards of $35 to $40. Now to do this type of cement on that type of tile for 12 by 24, you're probably gonna get 60 or 70 square feet per bag. So in a project like this, I'm gonna go through 5 bags of cement. You can do the math. That is about $150 you're gonna save, and it's better in your pocket. Now, what you wanna do, start off by adding a little bit of water. Ends up being about 20% water, give or take. Now it depends on the tile setter. Some people like more or less. This particular batch is a little warm. I only have access to it from the hot water overflow from the tank. So I'm gonna have issues with my cement drying quickly on me. So once I get going, I gotta move fast. Okay, good. So because it's warm water, I've got to work quick. I'm not gonna make as much. I'm only gonna make a ½ pail. I'm using a slow speed mixer. It doesn't rotate as fast as a lot of the other like VSR drills. And this is designed for cement and for mud mixing. So already I can tell it's gonna be a little too stiff. You wanna add water if you're gonna add more at the very beginning of your mixing process. Once you're finished mixing, it needs to set for 10 minutes before you use it. If you add water during that time, you're destroying your cement. There we go. That's what I like to see. It's got some ridging, some peaking, it's holding its own shape, and yet it still looks nice and loose. Okay, so once again, for the DIYers out there, we're using a ½ inch by ½ inch trowel. It works very good with the large format tile cement. And the idea is we want to fill up these holes that are in this in order to transfer the contact point from the stone right down into the concrete underneath. If you don't fill these, you'll have a bunch of air pockets and you run the risk of cracking your tile. And I use my trusty little cheapy tile cutter from building store. Always put a nice wheel on it and it works just fine. When you're installing this way, or on a 2-day tile install, I'll almost always just go for the square footage on the first day. So I'll do my square cuts. I won't even pull out my grinder. I won't do details around the doors and that sort of thing. I won't pull out the wet saw until the second day. I don't like to set it up and clean it up twice. So here we go. We're looking to fill up these squares. You've got to come at it from a couple of different directions. Make sure you don't bury your line. you can see you will end up going through a lot of cement. So what we're gonna do, I'm gonna just trowel this out real quick. And then I'm gonna knock it all in the same direction so that when I'm putting my tile in, I have a nice consistent underlay there. Now, because it's a large format, I'm gonna steal a little bit of cement, back butter my tile. And we're gonna place this down on my line. Happens to be about there. And I'm gonna check for my laser level. I'm a little too far over. Perfect. And a little bit of pressure. Slide it to my line. Now, in our last tile videos, people have commented, oh, you don't have enough adhesion. Anyway, so one of my viewers mentioned, why don't you lift the tile and show everybody? There you go. Industry standard for floors is 80%. This is about 97. I ought to be just fine. There we go, there's our cornerstone. Now all I gotta do is the same thing over and over and over again until the floor's done. Let's open up this box. They're a clip. Basically, it's the same science as all the clip systems. They break off. You just place them underneath. The idea here is you just get rid of the extra cement that's in the area because you don't want to have cement popping up between the joints. Now, some people use a margin trowel. I'm a little old school. I just like to have one tool in front of me all the time, so I use that trowel. Always visually inspect your corners. Make sure that things are good. Remove packaging like this. This is usually installed with tiles that have some sort of a polished finish on it to protect it from scratching during shipping. Once again, I'm going to back butter. I'm going to lay that in position. Lay it about a quarter off, put some pressure and push back to collapse the ridges. Okay. Nice. I'll go this way and this way. We'll go both directions just for the purpose of the camera. Now I usually try to put those wedges in with fingers first, but here's the basic idea. The clip goes over top. Here we go. Sorry, I'm on backwards. And you just squeeze the wedge through the clip, causing compression, and it should create a nice flush surface. Approximately there. We got 8-inch offset. There we are. And pressure, and I will collapse my ridges. Now, the only thing I'm going to do differently here is I'm going to move my, and I use a different tile clip system. You see, this works pretty quick. Here we go. This is for everybody who's been sending me messages about my PPE. Gotta use eye protection. I got this from that crazy Russian hacker. I love his goggles. I thought I'd wear them. So for those of you who've never done this before, this is a continuous rim grinder. So if it touches you, it'll burn your finger. It won't cut your finger off, which is lovely. The idea here is stone is somewhat sensitive, especially when it's porcelain. And I know people get upset when I call it stone, but it's a bad habit. You want to cut all the way through on each end, and then you want to basically plunge cut here so that the weak spot is going in both directions. So that if it does break during cutting, the piece that you want to keep stays intact. Okay, so that's the secret. And then just finish the cut. Here we go, inside corner. Very important, make sure your clips are pushed all the way in, guys. Basically, that's it. That's it for the techniques. We're gonna scratch the corners. We're gonna fill in as much of this as we can without using any of the grinders so we can get a lot of square footage done today. This will allow us all the room we need to be able to walk around and finish the job tomorrow. So today will be about a half day. We'll put down 150 square feet or so. And come back tomorrow and finish this off. So today we're going to teach you how to install a herringbone tile on a shower floor. Before I went and start, I've already mapped this out. I've taken it to the middle, I've gone both directions to check to make sure that this was going to work. Everything's going to be awesome. The only thing is when we get to the outside of our 6x6 foot pan, we want to continue the slope to the outside of the room. Now the house is moving a little bit of a slope that way. So as we go, we're going to change our trowel. We're going to start off nice and small and go to quarter, go to 3/8, and then go to 1/2 inch, just to make sure that we can use our level and keep our stone slowly sloping out the side of the room. Just a quick shout out to my company MapEye. Love this product, Herringbone. This is a non-modified cement. There's no latex in it. It's necessary and it's designed for use with the Schluter system. Basically, it's old-fashioned cement, and it works because it adheres to the plastic end of the tile. The regular wall tile cement that you're going to find out there, it's not going to bond, so make sure you use the right stuff. And I like this one because it's nice and silky smooth. There are other products in the market that are a lot more granular. I guess everybody likes something a little different, but for me, it's Herringbone all the way. Now, we can actually install this on our shower floor, and because there's so much movement and so many grout lines, it'll actually contour and drain the water right to the hole without doing all kinds of crazy cuts. This is kind of cool because it's got a texture on it. And it also is taken with a lot of different pictures, so they all look like an individual piece of wood. So what's going on here is, this is not like a traditional tile where you have 3 different designs and it's reoccurring. Those tiles, you have to check the back for an arrow. You always have one from facing the same direction, it looks stupid. This stuff here, they all look like individual pieces of wood. So, I mean, I just pulled out, what, 80 real quick, and none of these look the same. So that's nice. So we don't have to worry about a pattern emerging on the floor. We're just going to take them out of the box as they come. And we're going to use this one for now. So all we got to do is we're going to put this cement all over the floor. We want to do it as even as possible. Now, because the floor has contour, I'm going to take the time to back butter each of these tiles, which may seem monotonous, but I want to make sure it's going to be perfect. Here we go. So here's the advice. If you're doing a pattern like this, you have to keep your angles, tile to tile true. You can't follow your outside walls. In all of my years in construction, I've never seen a square room. And if you follow the walls, you're bound to have all kinds of issues. Now, you can cheat a little bit because the pattern will come along and then we'll get a full tile here. So you can be adjusting your grout lines to fill the space a little better. The secret is start flush and then move the tile in both ways. Create your space. Don't press it into the floor. There's a time and a place for that, and it ain't yet. That's why we're back buttering, so we don't have to add pressure. We don't want to fill all the grout lines full of cement. Now the herringbone design itself is not new. We've seen it on decking, but traditionally you'll find this in Europe. Hardwood floors. All over Europe. I mean, you go 150, 200 years ago, the wood was all installed like this. And this is where the look came from. So when they started making porcelain tile that looked like wood, it seemed like a pretty natural progression to offer this in that sort of style. Now, I'm working with a good quality porcelain and a stone that's this small. Makes your life pretty easy when it comes to cutting with the stone. I have a wet saw. It's a fabulous tool. I rely on it for a lot of projects. But in this situation, I'm using this little scratch tool. Nothing fancy. Because you can just go and buy one of these and do this project yourself. So I mentioned earlier about not pressing the stone in because we're on a contour. We want to let the stone follow the contour. You don't want to manipulate it or you'll end up with a floor that's all wobbly. Just take your grout float, add a little bit of pressure, heading towards the drain. That'll help to guarantee that everything is setting in the cement in the right direction. No pounding necessary. So over here I've got a couple of spacers up against the wall holding the tile. And because I don't want to wait until tomorrow to pull them out to do the floor, I'm just going to cut through nice and simple. And then leave the piece underneath the tile to support the weight. Interesting when you're doing this kind of tile is it can get away from you in a quick hurry. I'm heading in multiple different directions at the same time. And stop and pay attention every few tiles and make sure you're doing the pattern right. You could change the design and not even know it. This is all about just being patient, taking your time. Because this is porcelain and not ceramic, we don't have the challenge that you'll find with ceramic baked tile where they're all different sizes. This stuff here is actually, it's dead on. Every tile is exactly the same. So I can come at this from all different angles. I can go backwards, I can fill in this way and go this way, I can change direction and come over this way. And as long as I'm keeping things relatively square, I'll never have an issue. One of the things, okay, I'm ripping out the bathroom floor in my house. I've got this little Brutus tile cutter, must be 8-10 years ago. I don't use it very often, but when I get a small tile like this in a small space, it's really handy. The quality of the tile cutter, you know, there's a lot of discussion about that. There are products out there that are hundreds and thousands of dollars, but the reality is it's all in the wheel. If you've got a brand new wheel, runs you about $4 or $5. As long as this thing is square and true, you just push, create that scratch line. Now the stone has a weak spot. Put the pedal there, thumbs on the, grab the bar. 2 pieces. You don't need to spend $1,000 for a good cut. So just a quick note for people who are trying to be conscious about, the materials and not having waste and throwing things in the garbage. Most patterns and designs that exist today cause waste. The bigger the stone you put on, the more waste, because you're always cutting things that aren't used again. In this floor here, this is kind of neat because I cut a tile for this piece and the offcut is automatically the right size for that piece. So in all of the cuts that we've done so far, I haven't had to throw a single piece in the garbage. And that should remain true for the rest of the floor. It was hard to see the factory edge. Amazing how good a cheap little cutter can do. Just a quick double check, but everything is rolling towards the drain, just like it's supposed to. So for all of you perfectionists out there, I know I'm gonna get a comment, hey, that wasn't level. It's not supposed to be. We are trying to keep the outside of the room higher than the drain so all the water goes in one spot. So what we're just demonstrating here is even though we're just putting it all in nice and simple and following the contour of the floor, it's still nice and smooth. There's not a lot of trip surface here. If you go here, it's still a bit of a down curve, but when I get to the outside of the pan, it'll start sloping back. Yeah, right now, that's level. That's the middle. When we get to the outside, it'll start sloping up again. But here, everything's sloping towards the drain as well. Well, just a quick example here. The Schluter drain system comes in 3 different pieces. This is just the collar that goes in the drain. This sits inside that collar. And this is your adjustment plate. Now all of this gets set in cement. And it really holds on well. Okay, so what we have to do, and then just real quick for everybody at home, this is a waterproof membrane. The drain itself is rather large, it comes way out here. And so I cement the waterproof membrane over the drain into this membrane. So any of the water that follows the tile, goes down this drain, that's great. But any water, because of gravity and gets underneath the tile for whatever reason, years from now, it'll follow this orange mat, leak out into here, and hit this stuff here. This white mesh is actually a secondary drain. So the water will be able to go through and into this drain as well, and goes under the tile. So we gotta get some cement in here, put in our ring, and it's adjustable, you can see. So you can kind of slide this around a little bit and find the happy place with your tile. These little bumps, the bumps you leave at the top because that's what the plate catches. So we get our ring, in there. We're gonna stick this on. Now this is compression fit. So now that we have that on, we're gonna just fill this up like every other part of the tile surface that we're doing. Slide this in. Oh, let's put Schluter systems facing the door. Because it's just plastic and plastic. And then once we get the tile cut around it, we'll be able to set this in to like a 32nd inch lower than the tile, so the draining is gonna be really easy. So these drains are adjustable from 1 inch to almost 0. No matter what kind of floor system you're putting in, it'll be compatible. So we're gonna just trace where I wanna cut. And that's the key. Right now I'm marking what I wanna cut. So I end up with a little grout line. So I'm just gonna leave this one here and set my gap. And now I can mark my next one. And then I take my 2 pieces and I just confirm. See, that cuts in a different spot than that one, and I don't know why. So I'm gonna just set that up again for my grout line. Confirm this one more time. I like. Okay, let's go cut some stone. not going to do anything different here. Just going to set our stone. Gentle tap, just a hair lower than the stone. So all you need to do to finish this floor, keep on doing what we just showed you. That covers all the basic tricks. Remember, if you want to learn more, just subscribe to our channel. Well, thanks for joining us for our introduction to all things bathroom floor tile. Now listen, here at Home Renovision, we really believe that there's more than one way to do everything right. So there's a lot of different systems and a lot of different degrees of quality that you can move into. So we like to show you all your different options. So we also have a lot of other videos out there that teach you all the different steps. So if you want to learn how to do heated flooring systems, or you want to learn how to do waterproofing, we've got all that in our playlist. And we also have those projects that you saw there with the bathroom floor tile. A lot of those we have in Reality Renovision series as well, where you can see the whole bathroom project or the whole kitchen project laid out for you. So I encourage you to check the links at the end of the video. And if you haven't subscribed to the channel and you're just finding us now, then by all means hit the little icon in the bottom of the screen there and subscribe to the channel. Like the video, please. We love that interaction. It really helps us with the people over at YouTube. And we will see you again next time.